Hello everyone and welcome back to Hickory Lane Studios. Today I thought I would take you through the process of painting my very first model horse resin. Unlike plastic models that you buy in the store, resins are created by artists themselves and are sold in smaller batches. They are often incredibly detailed and they are a lot nicer than store-bought, mass-produced models. This is my first time ever painting one and I'm really excited. He is going to be a dark, kind of dappley gray, and he is based off a horse that I actually met in person back in March. And I'm really excited to paint him. So first, I need to start with the prepping stage. I don't know if you can tell from the video, but he has quite a few pockmarks on his back left from the supports. I also dropped him and broke his eyelid, so I fixed that. But now I need to fill in those pockmarks. I originally used Apoxie Sculpt for this, but it just wasn't cutting it for me, and so I ended up purchasing liquid green stuff, which is a liquid medium that dries hard and you can use it to fill in little imperfections or even big ones in your model, and that is really helpful when filling in these marks. Of course, then I have to sand all of that down and apply more as necessary. Now, while I was in the prepping stage, I noticed his feet didn't actually print properly, except for one of them, so I had to make new soles for his feet. I'm not really complaining about this. I think this was actually a really good experience for me to kind of sculpt feet for the first time. So it was definitely a learning experience for me, but I am really happy with the end result. I'm using a needle to first lay out the big shapes of the frog and also kind of outline the sole and the white line areas of the feet. This camera quality is unfortunately really bad, but it's the best I could get given how close up it is. Sorry about that. I kind of carved the rest of the foot with a silicone sculpting tool, and that's about it. I originally only did 3 feet and I blended them in because the other foot was already fine, but they were uneven, so I ended up having to do that last one anyways. I added more liquid green stuff, I primed him with my Tamiya Fine Surface Primer, and then I could start to sand down any more imperfections. Then it was time for base coating, so I'm using a very watered out, kind of off-white, grayish white shade, and I'm painting my whole model in that. And that is just going to be a nice base for the pastels to go on later. I only ever use watered out paint for this, and I do multiple layers to build opacity instead of one thick layer to avoid brush strokes. This took about 4 or 5 layers. I'm not exactly sure how, but it honestly depends on the model. Anyways, this was what he was like when he was done, and then I took him out to my garage and sprayed him with sealant. Now we are finally ready for the pastel stage. Though my model may appear to be a solid gray on the outside, I am still using some warm tones of pastels so that my model isn't fully cold. I want some warmer elements in there as well. I'm starting off with white pastel to make a base to put the other colors on top of. I find that this helps the other pastel colors blend better, and it helps avoid graininess, which is so frustrating when painting models. Then I can start to add on a darker gray color. This didn't do too much at first. I like to start very small, but eventually I got to the point where his body was pretty much a nice light gray color. In addition to the first layer of pastels on his body, I put low lights in between his muscles, darkened around his eyes, his nose, and his face, and also on the bottom of the legs. Then I did that white layer again, followed by another dark layer. I know my pastel mix might look really dark to most of you guys, and it kind of is. Maybe it was a bit dark, but I find that after that first layer, I can kind of just bite the bullet and go for it. I mixed up a very dark gray and added that basically to his whole body while leaving some places lighter and adding extra shading in other places. The face of the horse who I'm referencing is pretty much completely white, but I did darken around the eyes, the nose, and on the front of the face. Along with this layer of pastels, I also did little dapples. I used an eraser pencil for this. They didn't really end up showing through in the final layers. Maybe I started a little bit early, but they looked nice here. I still need to build up the colors, so I'm going in with a light color again to help avoid graininess and to allow those pastels to blend better. And then I go in with basically solid black at this point. It's going to create a really dark gray look, which I'm going for. Now, because the eraser pencil dapples weren't showing that well, I actually started to add some with white PanPastel and a blending stump. These didn't really show through in the final layer. Yeah, I don't know. They didn't make that much of a difference. But I added more white and more dark pastel, and things were looking good. I'm not too sad about the dapples. I honestly think he's perfect as he turned out. Now that was the last layer. As you can see, the dapples didn't really show through, but now it's time to move on to details with acrylic paints. Mixing up some colors that complement his body and his base color, I'm going to start by adding some little hairs along his belly, as well as accentuating those nicely sculpted vein details on his stomach. On his shoulders, I want to add some little highlights on the brace parts. So I do that with a lighter color paint and my fine detailing brush. If I'm going to be completely honest with you, I think these turned out a little bit too bright in hindsight, but I guess you can't change the past, so whatever. I detail with black on the legs, and I paint the hooves in a medium gray color. For the frog, I did that in darker paints, and then for the white line area, I also did that in a slightly darker paint as well, and then I added white on top of that. So kind of create a difference between the two. I then added lighter paints on the soles of his feet. Next, I decided to paint the eyes, but you can't really see anything because my hand was in the way the whole time. Now that little white speck of paint outside his eye I never got rid of, and it's one of my biggest regrets with this project. But alas. we must keep painting. So I painted a brown layer, and then I decided to go do the mane, and I don't think I recorded any of the other parts of the eye process. I paint the mane dark gray at the top of the mane, and then I'm going to add lighter colors at the bottom and kind of blend those together. As you can see, I blended them together with a medium gray in the middle, and I'm really happy with the ombre effect I achieved. I think it looks awesome. As mentioned previously, I did the exact same thing with the tail, but I didn't have any more footage past the dark top part. Sorry about that, guys. Anyways, I'm really proud of these feet, but I'm gonna mark them up with my initials and the date to sign my work before the final spray of sealant. And there he is waiting with the rest of his gray friends to be sealed. Then I packaged him up and actually took him to Canada. I made sure to wrap him very safely, and I went on a photo shoot there. Now I'm going to explain a little bit about his name. So obviously I'm in love with these pictures, and it was Canada Day when I was there, and that's why he has a mini Canadian flag. So his name's Timmy, named after the horse I based him off of. And my grandpa was like, you know what? It would work if he was like Tim Horton, but like Tim Horson, you know? So now he's Tim Horson, and he goes by Timmy, but I think that's just funny. Now I call him Tim Horson. So anyways, I am really happy with how he came out though, and I think he is like my most photogenic model probably. He looks great in all these pictures, and I'm really proud of these pictures, and I'm really proud of him. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. I do hope you enjoyed it and maybe learned something, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye!